Hi there, welcome to this video. So in this video, I want to be showing us how to use navigation button in a floating container. So let's get started. So you know what navigation buttons are? Navigation buttons are usually available on your dashboard around the object area. When you scroll down, you will see navigation, and this helps you move from one dashboard to another dashboard. Now, another way to implement a navigation button is using a sheet and using the go-to dashboard action. But since navigation button is readily available, so that's the first option we'll be exploring. So in this video, I have three dashboards, and these are the dashboards labeled dashboard 1, 2, 3. Usually this is not the best practice. You have to give it the best description, but for the purpose of illustration, I just created generic dashboards holding different charts. And again, these are my sheets. The first one is segment by quantity, the other region, segment, and discount. And the third chart is a pie chart. So I'll be illustrating how to use navigation button within this tiled container. Again, you have to understand the concept of floating containers. Floating containers can move around the screen. You can drag and drop anywhere. But like tiled container, for example, if I'm to create a tiled horizontal container, it's going to go to a specific place and it's going to be there. You can adjust the size, and it's going to always be tiled or stuck to that position on your dashboard. All right, so you can see I'm moving it, but it's still stable. It's very stable, not as flexible, but floating. From the name, it's floating. You can make it this container floating by coming here to turn to floating, and it refuses to get stuck, so it's floating on every other object. You can see, you can drag and drop, and it moves based on the movement of the dashboard, so it can be anywhere, but it's again floating, and it's not attached or pinned to a particular position on your dashboard, except the position you put it on before publishing. If I put it like this and I publish, it's going to be in this position. But again, the concept is that I can drag anywhere on the dashboard. Now, usually we used to have this tiled container at the background that is pinned to our dashboard. And how do we use navigation buttons on this to move from one dashboard to another? There are different reasons why we use floating containers. In case you just want to you don't want to navigate to another pane, you can use a floating object. But let's see how that goes in the video. So let's start with the first concept, how to use the navigation button. So I'll drag and drop this. It's going to be tiled, and it's just going to show navigation, and I'll address the size of the navigation button. And because I have two other dashboards or three dashboards, I don't want to create a navigation button here since it's already here. But I just want to move to second and third dashboard. So I'm going to create a navigation button in this instance. Again, you can decide to use three, but the third one will be dummy because the first one is already here, just to create that illusion that you're still on this dashboard. But we just want to explain the concept of navigate, move from one place to another. So I've dragged two navigation buttons here, and I'm going to insert dashboard 1, 2, because we're on dashboard 1. So double click on it, and it says navigate to. I'll click on navigate to dashboard 2 because I'm on dashboard 1. All right, and it's going to ask for some questions around there. I'll just put in the name of the second dashboard. I'll just say dashboard 2, or let me just say region bar chart. Just make it different. Now I have the region bar chart as a title, which will be displayed. You can use any image for your navigation button. You have the option, but I'm using text here. That's why I stick there, and that's the button style. Bold, if you want it bolding, that's your text. You have that option. For example, if I just have image as my option, I'll have choose, and I can edit the background of the image or whatever color. Because I have text, that's why it's showing me this. and I will format it as I want. If I want borders around it, and tooltip to just a click to move to the next button, to move to click to move to the next dashboard. All right, and there we go. So this is the first part, and I'm going to hit apply, and I'm going to say okay. Now we have this, and I have this. Let's just change this background button. I can hit it, and I can choose my background to be, blue, or light blue, any one of it. And I'm going to hit apply and say okay. There we have it. And again, I can format this to say likewise. So let's just say this. And this will go to dashboard 3, and I'll just put a descriptive so that people will know where it is going. Now I will just say click to view. This would be my tooltip dashboard. Cool, and I can change the background color as well and explore with borders if you want, and I'll hit apply and say okay. So if I hover over it to see the tooltip come alive to say to click to view, so this will give instructions to our users, and again with the region bar chart, and we are good to go. Now when I click on this navigation button, it will lead me to the second dashboard. So let's go to the presenter mode, and I would click this. You can see that we have that already, but because I do not have the same navigation button in here, I will not be able to go back. So I need to copy that navigation button and do likewise. So let's escape this one and go back to our development mode, and I'll come here and double click. Let's copy, because I do not have this in a container, I'll just copy and paste in the other one and turn it to tiled. It's floating. You remember the floating concept? And I'm going to turn this to tiled by unchecking this, and comes in here. I can drag to whatever position I want, and there we have it. I have my navigation button copied, but remember this is going to have the details of the first one and second one, but let's just quickly copy the other one, and copy that dashboard item. If I had put the two navigation button in a container, it would have been easy for me too. So I have a floating object, and I'll come again and untick this one, and it goes here because Tableau is intuitive, it just drops anywhere. And I'll double click this one to edit. So this one will go to dashboard 1, and I'll say segment bar chart because this needs to change, and there we go. So we're going to move in a fast pace. This can still remain as pie charts because this is dashboard 3, so we're fine. So again, we do likewise with this one, and we paste our dashboard item. I do not want pie chart here, but nevertheless, we'll edit it. I'll put this one here at the top, please. Yeah, at the top. Then ignore the formatting here, it's just for illustration purposes. And I will also paste again and uncheck this one, and again I will put this here. Then we can double click and edit. This goes to dashboard 1, and this is segment bar chart, segment bar chart. And the other one will be our, and again this, let's check if the dashboard 1 up. Cool. And dashboard 2 will be our region bar chart, and that's dashboard 2. What we need to do now is, for example, if I click a segment here, I just want a pop-up window. Let's come in here. I want a pop-up window when I click on this to give me extra information about a particular customer details or customer name. So I want to create another sheet, and that will be because I click on this one, a floating object comes up, gives me the customer details or whatever, about 3 other sheets in there. So that will be the next thing we'll be exploring. I'm going to move over to how to use the navigation button in a floating container. So now, to use a floating container, I'll switch to the side of here. You can see objects. I'll switch to floating from tiled, and I'll drag in a horizontal container. You can see it's floating. I'll expand this, and there we have it. Now I want to try how this navigation button works within this floating object. So now I'm going to switch over to tiled because I can't use floating on floating. Floating is not pinned to anything, so that's the idea. What I mean is this: when I come in here and I pull in the pie charts, you can see that it's just not attached to it. Anything can happen. Floating is not loyal to any background. Do you understand? Our floating cannot be used on floating. Cool. So let's just go back, and I have to use a tiled object within that floating. So I've switched over to tiled, and I will drag in the pie chart. There we have it. And I'm sure it's in the floating object because, let's go back. You can see that my floating container turns blue, so I know it's dropping inside of it. So when I move the floating object all around the screen, sorry, let's do that again. To get to my floating object, I have to double click. Okay, so now you can see that the floating container is moving with the pie chart. So now I'm fine, it's in there. And I will also drag in my other sheets. Let's use this one, region, into it, and we have two of them. I can adjust accordingly. And my floating object or container has two sheets in there. Let's highlight the borders in a color that we want, maybe red, so we can just we have to double click to go to the floating container. Always remember that, because that is just referencing the pie charts. So I'll come in here and use red to identify our floating objects. Now the reason why I want this, excuse me, double click, and yeah, so let's just drag this. So now let's see how we can use navigation buttons within this floating object. So let's come in here and I'll drag, and it's because it's horizontal, it's just there. Let's just use as is. By the side, I'll double click this, and it says go to, so I can actually go to a particular sheet with this navigation button. So that is awesome. So I do not need to go to a dashboard to use that. So all I need to do is to say go to my pie chart or my bar chart. I want it to behave as though I'm interfacing between two sheets. Okay, so this will be pie charts, and I will just put pie chart there. And we can leave others as is, just for illustration. Okay, so we just apply okay, and I will come and drag another one, navigation button, to the side, just not to waste time. Always know that floating containers also, or any container you use, can be horizontal or whatever, but I've used my horizontal rather than my vertical, so I can see. Let's see if it can move to the top. So for the purpose of time, let's just name this one bar chart. Cool. And navigate to our segment by, so our bar chart is region and segment, not segment by constant, region by segment, yeah, by discount. And we have it, and say apply. Okay, let's see how this behaves when we go live. So if I click on this, you can see it went to the entire sheet and not the dashboard itself. All right, so when we come out of this one and go to our dashboard where we have the thing, I don't want it to go. I want it to stay here, and I want this one to stay. So I want it to behave like a separate dashboard. And again, within your Tableau options, you can only bring in dashboards in there. So how do I make this one a menu to navigate between these two sheets on a floating object? And that's a problem I want to solve. Just like we have this one navigating from one, and they are all still from one dashboard to another, I want to navigate between two sheets, and this will be menus on this sheet. How do we go about that? So we'll be sharing that in a bit.